Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to do a creator request today, which is where a smaller group or artist gets in contact with me and asks me to check out their stuff specifically. We're going to be looking at a group called Inside Her. They contacted me via email and said, hey, this is Inside Her, an electronic rock metal project. We originally come from a metal stage, and this is our shot at a more industrial and electronic sound. Alright, so let's dive into this. The track is called Moonlight. See what Inside Her is bringing to the table today. Yeah, give me that bass lead. What? What is this? This is phenomenal. A little one-off idea on the synth on the left there. Oh, they pushed it to the right, but it's slightly out of sync, but nothing else. It's got to be intentional, but interesting decision. I love the bass power, both from the lower end of the synth and our bass guitar. That was slick. Really going for that rule of cool synthwave idea. Harmonies. Let's go. Where are we going with this? Seem to have ditched the harmonies. More of an industrial edge. Yeah, that's the second time they've turned that harsh vocal into like an atmospheric idea. tremolo picking against a synthwave idea. Wow. Okay, it worked that time. Philosophy? Very clean drum fills there. Um, so now I have an album I'm gonna want to check out. What was that? And Insider, if you're watching, I mean this in the most endearing way I can. I say what was that, not because it was bizarre. I mean, it kind of was, but because I've never heard anything like that, and I quite enjoyed it. What in the world? It's like synthwave meets industrial metal, and I'm not like, let's just dig into it, right? Phenomenal stuff. What were you guys thinking, you mad lads? Um, okay, so we have very synthwave style synth tones throughout here, not just in the tone and timbre itself, the sounds that they choose to utilize for the lines, but also the melody lines as well. There's so many moments in here that feel like I was directly transported back to the 80s. It's just it's perfect. It's sparsely used, I would say. It's not something that crops up often, but when it does, I love those moments. And I think the restraint to put those synthwave moments in every aspect of the song goes a long way in allowing those moments to stand out and to be something to look forward to in the track. Aside from that, though, we also have synthesizer stuff that is mostly atmospheric or embellishing. In fact, I think it was the first section we had with the vocals, maybe like the verse, if it was a verse. Actually, didn't pick up much of a structure on this. We had like 4 or 5 synth notes just over here on the left, and I was like, yeah, nice little embellishing idea, an isolated one. And then out of nowhere, it comes back over here and echoes back over there again immediately. So we had like a 1 burst and then a 2 burst back to back. And it's those little embellishing ideas that, at least to me, or something that I continue to look forward to. Little moments of the track that were fresh and unique and also consistently kept me on my toes as far as being able to anticipate what the song was going to do next. Even when I felt I had found a pattern, they found ways to subvert that. So we have our synthesizer, and it bounces back and forth between synthwave ideas and embellishing concepts. Then we have our guitar, which is the guitar does some fun stuff. Occasionally, we'll just get these nice moving lines in an almost clean electric tone. We also get some chord progressions with a little bit more grit and distortion to them. And then out of nowhere at the end, we get these cleaner tremolo picking ideas. Just constant 16th notes giving us that aggressive texture that we would find in stuff like black metal or thrash, with a bit of a more lighthearted feel to it, as it's not as distorted as those styles tend to put their guitar tones, but it still retains that constant attack feeling. And then we also do have one moment, I think, where we shifted to a full on distorted power chord kind of style of thing going on, going for that real heavy, aggressive sound. And I'm just, the more I talk about this, I have to remember that the majority of the track here is sort of a synthwave electronic vibe. And I'm talking about all these metal concepts being put into it. And it's like, this is the schism I have. This is the odd uh, middle ground. That it intrigues me so much because it is an electronic song on its surface, but we heard so many metal influences, which they did say that they started out as a metal band. But it's just really interesting to hear some of these ideas brought in, including the one moment I have to talk about because what in the world? We ended the track with blast beats and screaming. What? And again, what in the best kind of way? It takes a lot to completely knock me off my legs, knock me off my feet, and just completely surprise me with musical decisions. I'm not saying that I've heard everything out there, but this is unique stuff. Very unique take on music, and I absolutely lo- love everything that's going on here. But yeah, blast beats is not the way I figured we were going to end the track. This was also one of the moments we shifted to the harsher guitar style, and like I said, there's also some harsh vocals here as well. Um, just a very bizarre ending that worked somehow, and I don't know how or why it did. But I think a lot of it comes down to contrast. It's what keeps the song feeling fresh and cohesive is that it wasn't an electronic song that just ended on blast beats. We had slowly worked our way up to this. I think it was just a minute into the track we actually had our first harsh vocals, though they were pushed into the background and used mostly as texture, which is such an electronic thing to do. Um, just a really smart way of going about that, but it also snuck in these heavier metal elements. The tremolo picking was another way of doing that. You just kind of slowly sneak in these ideas. The drumming started out a lot softer than it ended, and we gradually increased the intensity of some of the drum parts. Our cymbal hits had more velocity to them over the track, over the course of the song, so that when we get to the blast beats and the heavy guitar playing and the front and center harsh vocals, it's like, they don't seem that out of place. And it's because we've been subtly informed that this is actually what the song can include. It feels like an electronic song for the most part, but there are little hints of metal and hard rock elements to it, so that when they do kind of go full on metal there at the end, it feels like a natural progression. It feels like it fits. It's honestly super genius, and it's interesting to me that they were a metal band first and went this route because a lot of the techniques they're showcasing here are electronic production. It's a lot of the tricks that I've come to appreciate and learn about from the electronic field. Stuff that they utilize to ensure cohesion in their tracks while they're working with 100, different sounds or samples per song. Cohesion is something that is a huge undertaking, at least in my mind, when it comes to a lot of modern electronica. And they're utilizing those tools of the trade in this track despite it being the fresh element to them. They said they mixed electronic and rock has a lot of similarities with metal. To me, learning the electronic side would be the bigger undertaking, but they show such an understanding of it in just this one track. It's kind of fascinating. Um, there's also a lot of elements where we can showcase some of the electronic techniques merging with the metal techniques. And the one that really stands out to me, it got utilized twice, was a harsh vocal. I think it was a fry scream, pushed a bit to the back, a little pushed into the mix. It wasn't extremely prominent, but you could definitely hear it. It was one of the more dominant sounds in the mix while not being directly in the spotlight. And it starts out with the scream, and then a little bit more compression gets added in. I'm not sure if that's physical compression or production wise, but then it slowly gets warped into white noise, that gets panned and pushed around, so it kind of feels like it warps around you and cuts across and leaves out the left side of the song. My left, of course. It looks like right to you, but whatever. Um, just a really slick technique there to once again sneak some metal in there, but utilize it in a textural way through the use of electronic production. It's just so smart. That's the thing. This is a perfect combination of some of the harsher elements of rock and metal in a synthwave, sort of chill, relaxed, ambient kind of song. Um, and it utilizes both sides' strengths in conjunction with each other. We have some of that rule of cool writing that we get out of synthwave, but also that metal is really predicated on with a lot of the really strong production elements of electronica music, and brings them together into a track that is the best of both worlds while feeling wholly unique as well. Um, I think my only criticism would be that the synth idea of the double notes is like do 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 do, something like that. Every note was hit twice, and there's like a rising idea to it, rising and falling idea. The first time it came in, it felt just a bit off rhythmically. I couldn't figure out what it was, so I'm gonna say that maybe it was just a small timing issue. But it didn't happen at the end, and given how precise everything was up until that middle point, I kind of assumed it was intentional. But with it coming in at the end, with the notes being exactly on the beat, it really makes me question what happened there. If that was intentional, or if it needed to be quantized a little bit better, or re recorded alternatively. Um, to line it up with what everything else was. It honestly felt like the song was falling apart for a moment, and while I couldn't figure out the intention for that, the thematic reason for it, I just kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt. But by the end of the track, the next time it was utilized, it was spot on with the beat. So I'm not so sure that it was intentional anymore. But aside from that one moment, everything else is just very perfectly done. There's a lot of attention to detail on the production side, on the composition side of when to use guitars, what type of vocals to use, how to modulate everything, when to use electronic sounds, when to use synthesizers, when to put embellishing tones in. And it just creates a very fun, unique track that feels a little bit like, uh, I don't know, System of a Down wrote an electronic song. Um, and it's just kind of bonkers in the best way. I would love to dig into the lyrics, but as best I could not find any, um, which is not completely unusual for smaller bands like this. But usually I do find them in tucked away in the description box, and they weren't there. They're not on any lyric sites, so unfortunately we're gonna have to bypass that section. Though something tells, well, I don't know. I was gonna say something tells me that the music and the lyrics are gonna be wholly separate on this, but I don't know. There's some vibes in the music. It's very chill and laid back, and you can easily write some lyrics that would match up with that. Especially with the track called Moonlight, which I think the title itself really fits this. It's interesting in that the song gives me those synthwave vibes of like going down the highway with the windows down at midnight, but also gives me some of the more aggressive rock vibes. And it's almost like you have a diverse taste in music, and you got a mixtape that sort of fluctuates between synthwave and metal, and this is your nighttime driving mix. And yeah, both aspects of the song, especially when they come together, just both give me this nighttime driving vibe, and Moonlight is definitely the right setting for that. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Inside Her's Moonlight. Let me know what you guys thought, if you enjoyed this or not, anything that stood out, anything you'd like to agree with me on or disagree with me on, correct me on. Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Above that is the description box. Rather than my own links, I will put Inside Her's links in there. Any social media or links to streaming platforms where you can find their music, I'll put everything I can find in there for y'all to connect with them whichever way you want to. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.